Before we begin today's story, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear proves one thing. Fate doesn't knock softly, sometimes it crashes into your life when you least expect it. Imagine this. A tired single father, alone on a dark road after a 14-hour shift. A stranded woman waving him down in the shadows. A decision he makes in 5 seconds. That will decide his entire future in court the very next morning. He thinks he's just helping a stranger. He has no idea that she's the judge, who will determine whether he keeps custody of his daughter, or loses her forever. One small act of kindness. One unexpected meeting. And a truth powerful enough to shatter lies built by money and influence. Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about a man fighting for his child. It's a story about how the right moment, the right witness, and the right heart can rewrite destiny. The night was unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that makes a tired man hear his own thoughts louder than traffic. Malik, a single father in his early 30s, drove home from his second shift with his eyes heavy and the car almost running on willpower. His daughter, Amina, was waiting at home, probably asleep with her homework spread across her chest. That thought alone kept him awake. As he turned onto a long stretch of road, he spotted hazard lights blinking on the roadside. A silver sedan sat still in the dark. Next to it stood a woman, alone, composed, and illuminated only by the cold glow of her phone. Malik slowed down. He didn't want trouble. He had enough trouble to last him a lifetime. But something in her body language, calm but helpless, made him roll down the window. "You okay?" he asked. She looked up, her voice steady but relieved. "My battery died. And so did my car." Malik sighed quietly. He could have kept driving. No one would blame him. But his mother raised him better than that. And honestly, he hoped someone would help his daughter one day if she ever needed it. "Hop in," he said. "I'll get you somewhere safe." The woman hesitated. Studied him. Then nodded. "My name is Lydia." "Malik," he replied. He thought it was nothing more than a simple act of kindness. A drop in the ocean of his long, exhausting life. But this moment would change everything. By the time he dropped Lydia at a 24-hour diner, the weight of his life was already pulling him down again. He didn't tell her about the real reason he was exhausted. He didn't tell her that tomorrow morning he had to appear in court again, fighting to keep his daughter from being taken by people with more money, more power, and more influence than he could ever dream of. He didn't tell her anything. As he walked into his small apartment around midnight, he saw Amina asleep on the couch, her notebook beside her and a crayon in her hand. She was only 8, but wise beyond her years. She stirred when she heard the door. "You're home," she whispered. "I'm home," he answered, brushing her hair. "Go back to sleep." She sat up. "Did you eat?" He lied. "Yeah." She handed him a folded piece of paper. "I made a drawing for you, for your court tomorrow." Malik unfolded it. A stick figure man holding the hand of a little girl with a giant smile. Underneath it, in shaky handwriting, "Daddy, I'm staying with you forever." Malik swallowed hard. He tucked her back in bed. Then sat alone on the couch. The legal fees were drowning him. His ex-wife's family, wealthy business owners, wanted custody out of pride, not love. They said he wasn't stable. They said he didn't have the environment a child deserved. They said he worked too much. They said poverty made him irresponsible. They said everything but the truth. Tomorrow's judge was rumored to be the strictest one in the district. Unbending. Favoring structure. Wealth. Power. Malik didn't stand a chance. Lydia sat in the diner sipping warm tea, thinking about the man who had just helped her. She replayed how he talked, how gentle he was, how he insisted she stay somewhere safe even when he was clearly exhausted. She saw something quietly noble in him. Something steady. Something rare. But there was a conflict tearing through her chest. Because tomorrow, she wasn't just any woman. She wasn't just a stranger on the road. She was Judge Lydia Carrington. And the case she was presiding over was the custody battle of Malik Ahmed and Aisha's influential family. She hadn't reviewed all the files yet, just initial summaries. Most judges trusted those summaries. Most didn't question the polished statements, the expensive attorneys, the rehearsed testimonies. But now she had seen the man behind the paperwork. She kept her identity hidden. Not because she planned to benefit him, but because she needed time to think. Time to understand why this brief interaction felt significant. What she didn't know yet was how deep the deception in his case went. The next morning, as Malik drove to court, he kept thinking about Lydia. Not because of her beauty or her calmness, but because she actually listened to him. Just listened. Something few adults did anymore. He wondered what her story was. Why she was out alone so late. Why she didn't panic. During that short car ride, they talked about small things, life, work, parenting. Malik said something that stuck with her. People always think struggling makes you irresponsible. But sometimes struggling means you're doing everything you can. Lydia repeated the sentence quietly to herself now, as she sat behind her desk, robes folded neatly beside her. She had seen two kinds of people in her career. Those who wore masks of goodness. And those who didn't know they were good. Malik belonged to the second group. The courtroom door knocked. Her assistant entered with a thick file. "Judge, this is the Ahmed custody case. The one scheduled for today." Lydia's hand froze before she took it. She pulled the folder close, then opened it slowly. Inside were accusations. Irresponsibility. Neglect. Financial instability. Unfit housing. Unpredictable hours. Lack of structure. None of it matched the man she met. She closed the folder. Now she had to see for herself. Outside the courtroom, the hallway buzzed with voices, footsteps, and tension. But for Malik, everything felt distant, like he was standing underwater. His palms were sweating. His chest was tight. He clutched the worn folder holding all his receipts, text messages, and photos, his tiny arsenal against a family that owned half the district. Across the hall, his ex-wife's parents stood like royalty. Their suits were flawless. Their posture rigid. Their lawyers, 3 of them, spoke in hushed tones around them, flipping through glossy binders filled with accusations. Malik didn't have a team. He didn't have polished evidence. All he had was the truth, and lately, that didn't seem to count for much. His ex-mother-in-law turned when she noticed him. Her eyes narrowed, then curved into a cold, satisfied smile. "This doesn't have to be hard on you, Malik," she said, stepping closer with the quiet confidence of someone who believed the law was already in her pocket. "Just sign over custody, and we'll make sure you have visitation rights." "Maybe." Her tone made the word maybe feel like a blade, sharp and intentional. Malik forced himself to stay calm. "Amina is my daughter. She stays with me." His ex-father-in-law scoffed, unable to hide his contempt. "You can't give her the life we can. Stability. Security. Opportunity. She deserves better than this." His eyes swept over Malik's cheap shoes, his worn-out jacket, the exhaustion carved into his face. Malik inhaled slowly. "I can give her love." They laughed in unison, a cruel, dismissive sound. To them, love was the weakest currency. To Malik, it was everything. One of the lawyers stepped forward with a smirk. Love doesn't win cases, Mr. Ahmed. Evidence does. Malik looked past them toward the courtroom doors, which seemed heavier than any he had ever faced. People began gathering around as the bailiff's voice echoed. Courtroom 3B is now open. A line formed. Shoes shuffled. Papers rustled. Malik felt himself shrinking in the crowd, just one tired man fighting a machine he didn't understand. His legs were heavy as he moved forward. Every step felt like he was dragging the weight of his whole life behind him. He thought of Amina's drawing. Daddy, I'm staying with you forever. But what if he failed her? What if today was the day everything slipped away? He steadied his breath, forcing down the fear. He was ready to fight, but deep down, doubt gnawed at him. He was walking into a war he could never afford to win. A war where the other side had battalions, and he had a single, frayed folder. As he entered the courtroom, he whispered to himself. Please, let the truth matter today. He had no idea who was waiting behind the judge's bench. He had no idea fate was already shifting. He had no idea that the woman he helped last night was about to walk into the room and change everything. Everyone rose as Judge Lydia entered. For a moment, everything froze. Malik's eyes widened, shock, disbelief, confusion rushing all at once. Lydia's heart slammed against her ribs. The man from the quiet road. The man who helped her without questions. The man who spoke of his daughter with a sincerity that moved her. She recognized him instantly. He recognized her too. But neither said a word. Lydia's face remained calm, professional, but inside, she was shaken. The man standing before her wasn't just another name on a docket anymore. She had seen the human behind the case. She had seen his exhaustion, his gentleness, his honesty. She had seen how he treated strangers. Now she held the power to redefine his future. Her hands remained steady as she sat, but her mind raced. She opened the case file again, not as a distant decision-maker, but as someone who had glimpsed the real Malik. And for the first time, the file didn't look right. She noticed gaps in the statements. Timelines that didn't align. Photos with strange metadata. Complaints that seemed too coordinated. Emergency evidence submitted at suspicious hours. She saw polished narratives, not truth. She saw expensive strategy, not concern for a child. And then she noticed something else. Financial influence. Subtle, but present. Names she recognized. Connections that didn't sit well. A cold wave ran through her. Her instincts, the same instincts that had built her reputation, whispered one thing. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She sat straighter, her expression firming. Because now, she wasn't just judging a case. She was uncovering a lie. And Malik, quiet, tired, sincere Malik, was at the center of a battle he didn't even know he was fighting. Malik's ex-in-laws unleashed everything they had. A lawyer stepped forward holding a document. Your Honor, we have proof Malik left his daughter home alone 2 weeks ago. That's not true, Malik said sharply. The lawyer smirked. You were at work. Security footage shows your car gone from your apartment complex. I was taking my daughter to my mother's house, Malik replied. Check the cameras there. We found no record of that, the lawyer said. Lydia leaned forward. No record. Or no search. The lawyer hesitated. The mother-in-law stepped in. He's lying. Malik has always been irresponsible. Amina deserves better. The father-in-law nodded. We have the means to give her a proper life. Malik barely survives paycheck to paycheck. Your Honor, the lawyer pressed, this incident alone shows he cannot be trusted. Malik clenched his fists, but stayed calm. Tell me something, Lydia said, her voice cool but sharp. If he is as irresponsible as you claim, why did you wait 3 months to present this evidence? Silence. The lawyer stammered. It came to us late. And the timestamp on this footage, Lydia added, was edited. Badly. The courtroom murmured. Malik looked up in shock. Lydia's eyes didn't leave the lawyer. Proceed carefully, she said. The storm had shifted. As recess was called, Lydia sat alone with the file. She turned page after page, now seeing the manipulation clearly. She remembered Malik on the roadside, offering her a ride without hesitation. She remembered how gently he spoke of his daughter. She remembered how he never once complained about his struggles, only about wanting to do right by Amina. She replayed the surveillance discrepancy. The missing timestamps. The late submissions. Then she saw something that made her freeze. In the file, a photo of Malik's apartment was attached. It was messy. Clothes everywhere. A sink full of plates. But she recognized something. The date on the photo, a day when Malik worked a double shift and his neighbor reported a break-in attempt in the building. The photo wasn't evidence of neglect. It was evidence taken without permission, most likely staged. Someone had been inside his home. Her chest tightened. This case wasn't about a child's best interest. It was about power. And someone expected her to rubber stamp their agenda. But she wouldn't. Not after last night. Court resumed. Everyone rose. Lydia looked at Malik's daughter's grandparents with a calm expression that made them shift uncomfortably. We have reviewed the evidence thoroughly, she began. And after extensive cross-checking, it is clear that several documents were altered, statements were misleading, and certain pieces of evidence were tampered with. Gasps spread across the courtroom. The mother-in-law shouted, "That's impossible." The truth, Lydia continued, is not impossible. It is simply ignored by those who fear it. She turned to Malik. Mr. Ahmed, you have demonstrated consistent commitment, responsibility, and profound care for your daughter. Malik's breath caught in his chest. She looked at the opposing side. Custody remains with Malik Ahmed. Effective immediately. Full parental rights. All tampered evidence is hereby dismissed. And a separate investigation will be opened regarding the presented materials. The courtroom shook with murmurs. Malik stood there frozen, trying to process it. For the first time in months. He won. Not because he had money. Not because he had power. But because someone had finally seen the truth. As everyone left, Malik waited outside the courthouse. He didn't know if she would speak to him. But he had to try. When Lydia stepped outside, their eyes met. "Judge, thank you," he said quietly. "For being fair. For giving me a chance." She nodded. "I didn't give you anything, Malik. I only returned what was already yours." He hesitated. "Did you know last night?" She looked at him, steady and sincere. "No. I only knew you were a good man. And that was enough to make me look deeper." Malik swallowed the emotion rising in him. "You saved my family." "No," she corrected softly. "You did that. I just cleared the fog." He stepped back, overwhelmed with gratitude. As she walked away, Malik whispered to himself. One act of kindness changed everything. And that night, when he hugged Amina tighter than ever, he realized something. Sometimes fate tests you. Sometimes people try to break you. But sometimes, a stranger on a quiet road is exactly the miracle you need. If this story touched you, make sure you subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. More powerful, emotional stories are coming, stories that remind us that compassion still matters, truth still wins, and one good deed can rewrite a life.